Hello again. Hello and welcome. There's a little mess up with the screens. I apologize. How are we doing tonight? ANCAP, good to see you. Well, here we are. For the fourth time, we are going through some headlines that seem to grace our presence very quickly, and then seemingly as quick as they come, they are out again. So for episode 4 of Here Today, Gone Tomorrow, my name is Tom, the Shagsworth. Welcome to my channel. We're just going to be talking about some news stories that have been in the media over the past couple of days, past week rather, and have, in my opinion, made some interesting waves. It's I'm worried about the current state of the world. Probably said that one too many times, but it's still true, no matter how many times I say it. And this week's news stories are no exception to the rule. They are just crazy, outlandish, woke, social justice warrior nonsense. And so we're going to talk about it. My fear is that these things will pop up, and then they will be gone as quick as they came. And I find that really telling for the sign of the times. I think that how we consume things on a regular basis, a lot of single serving things here and there. Same thing with news. We feel and see these things very quickly. We don't really have time to digest and understand like the true meaning of what they all are. And that is alarming, in my opinion. So for that, we need to take a step back. We need to look at these things, and if hopefully these videos stay around for a while, and it gives people some time to reflect and understand what exactly is going on in the world. I want to start doing these on a more regular basis. So for those who are hanging out, those who are listening, I do appreciate your time. It does mean the world to me. So again, Here Today, Gone Tomorrow was born out of necessity, I believe, because we find ourselves in really troubling times. This is the 4th episode of this particular podcast / show that is live on YouTube when we can do it. Again, to sort of illustrate the issues that are coming about in this day and age. There's a lot of stuff that seems to be in the news cycle and then quickly out of the news cycle. So I try to highlight the things that I think should be talked about and gone over many, many times. And hopefully this stays around long enough for people to digest, understand it, and even come back to it when they need to. It's really important to me that this stuff, that we get this stuff out there. I don't know if I'm worried about the world at large. I think for the most part, I will maintain that for the most part, people are genuinely good people. They mean well. They want to be a part of what's going on. They want to be on the positive side of history. We all have our bad days, and we all feel the heat from everyone else. And it's easy to think that you are an island and that you are being singled out in this entire thing. But my issue comes when we have giant, large swaths of people that are putting out, or even not even large swaths of people, but rather a select few voices that seem to be really amplifying these crazy cult-like rhetoric. And I'm worried. I'm worried for what it means, what it could mean for humanity. Though I do still have a little faith there. So again, out of necessity, we are sitting here talking about all of this. I hope to have a positive impact on the world. I hope that good discussions can come up with it. And towards the end of this, I will open up Discord for those who are hanging out and maybe want to be a part of the discussion a little bit more. I want to try and do that from time to time if I can. I think it's fair. I think it's good too to get outside feedback on certain things. I think, I am someone who encourages discussions when it can. I think it's important that we do have the difficult conversations. Even if you think that someone's unreachable, I think at some point we have to really take a step back and put our best foot forward, even if it means that we stumble a little bit. I think that's where a lot of the growth happens. Growth happens when we put ourselves in inescapable and uncomfortable situations. If we can get through that, even if we stumble a little bit, and even if we're not perfect, the idea is we look back on these discussions, we look back on the decisions we make, and we course correct where we can. That's a very, very important part of growing as an individual. Going live or recording something like this is a very uncomfortable place for me to be, but I find it necessary so I can talk about the things I want to talk about at length, a little bit more than maybe a tweet or even a Substack article that I might put out. These are all really, they're difficult times, but if I can put myself out there enough and show people that it is possible to broach these difficult conversations, whatever, I'm hoping that I can pass that on to the next person. Anyways, if you do like the content, if you like my channel, I would appreciate the thumbs up. Helps the algorithm, helps push our content out to people where you can. Subscribe to the channel. Of course, we try and put out at least a video a week or twice a month for right now. Most of my content creation is done over on Twitch, twitch.tv/theshagsworth. You can find me over there playing a variety of video games and occasionally doing a little bit of social commentary as well. But that is where you'll find me 4 days out of the week, Friday through Monday, from 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time till about midnight or 1 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's a great time. We're a good, fun-loving community. We have a lot of questions that we want to ask. So please come on by. Subscribe to the channel. Come over and follow me on Twitch. I would really appreciate it. Oh, I'm always worried about bringing up these stories because I'll tell you, the stories that we're going to get into tonight are difficult, to say the least. Before we get started, hello, ANCAP Gamer. Hello, Demented for Fun. You guys, you are late, but it's okay. I still love you. Still appreciate you. Thank you for coming out and supporting the YouTube stream. We are, like I said, we're trying to do at least one of these live streams a week. They're kind of impromptu at the moment, but if I can put out some content for you guys that is, like I said, trying to push out these news stories that I feel are fleeting in the news cycle, and that are going to be easily forgotten about. So we're doing a good thing for humanity. So I'm going to start off with some things that were not, this was not particularly in any news per se. For some reason, this isn't working. Find the correct thing here. Here we go. This was not in the news, really, and I saw it passed around on Twitter. Safe and effective, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Zach20 at Zach2040 posted a screenshot about Governor Newsom being injured by the Moderna booster shot. Tells the source tells the Defender. I don't, it doesn't matter to me what people do as far as what they do with their body, as far as their health goes. I spoke about this briefly last time we did this, and I think there's this fallacy that before COVID, people ran around the world and they went to work really ill, and they passed around illnesses, or it's either that, or as soon as COVID started, suddenly people forgot about basic hygiene. I totally reject this because I think it's just garbage nonsense. I do not wish, as much as I disagree with Newsom's politics over the course of him being governor and his general handling of California politics. I don't want him to be sick. I don't want him to have anything adverse with the CV-19. But I think it's important to draw attention to these things. If this public figure is experiencing some sort of adverse reaction to an experimental treatment, it's important that he discusses it. I mean, being honest and open about it and saying, I do think this is a good idea, but I think you should make this in the best interest of your own health and to consult a doctor. I think this is an important way to go about it. The idea that people, that by saying you should hold off on something or you should not, you should be vaccine hesitant, I don't think this is a bad thing. People are twisting it in a way. And again, these pundits on whatever side are taking it and run with it the best they can. And again, I hope that Newsom is fine. I hope this is not true, but it's not a good look for this particular thing. I don't know. I wish him the best health. I don't agree with his politics, and I think he has been a thorn in everyone's side politically. Next up, again, this week has been just a sort of terrifying mixture of nonsense, to be short. If you've been following the news, no doubt you've noticed that Kyle Rittenhouse his trial began last week, and there's been a lot of different live streams that have been covering this trial. I mean, they've been covering every step of the way. One of the channels that I happened to come across was doing basically a play-by-play of everything that was being said. Several lawyers were, the panel of lawyers would sit down and they would comment on the things that were happening. And I took this from today's cycle because this is one of the reasons that I found myself questioning what was going on with the world at large. I was really worried about news stories that I was seeing. And someone actually did a good job at grabbing different headlines from the different news outlets and how they're characterizing the lone survivor that was shot by Kyle Rittenhouse. We'll just go through and kind of show you what was being said. From CBS News, lone survivor shot by Kyle Rittenhouse at Kenosha protest testifies he thought he was going to die. Okay, that's one. Gage says he feared for his life before Kyle Rittenhouse shot him during Kenosha unrest. Because we can't say riots either. Peacefully protesting. Unrest. The man who survived being shot by Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha, Wisconsin last August testified on Monday that he never tried to kill the heavily armed teenager. In fact, he said at the teen's murder trial, he was actually trying to surrender to him, the Daily Beast reports. If you guys watch more than 5 minutes or a single clip of what was going on during this trial, you realize the spin that's trying to happen here. They want to try and paint Kyle as a irresponsible teen who went to this protest in order to actually murder someone. I've seen little live coverage from mainstream media on this thing, and it's very telling. But these headlines are doing a piss poor job at illustrating how Kyle is guilty. Again, if you watch the footage of Kyle in this whole trial, you realize very quickly that Kyle was acting in self-defense. It is awful. It's terrible that two people lost their lives during this whole debacle. But everything that has been brought forth by the prosecution really paints Kyle in a very gentle light. He is trying to guard a business. He is attempting to help out the local business, making sure that cars aren't being burned to the ground. And it is clearly him trying to do good. Now, is he irresponsible by acquiring a gun and traveling across state lines? Absolutely. Absolutely. He is not guilty of murder. And these headlines are doing their damnedest to paint him as such. But they're desperate. They're desperate to push this narrative that there's angry white people out there that need to be feared. That people like Kyle and his friends are attempting to like somehow take over an area and be real threats. And that's just not the case. And it's unfortunate that we have to deal with this in the news. This is the reason that I turned away from the Democratic Party, because they were outright lying. It was lying by omission is what it was. Not a good look. Not a good look. And it was something that I wanted to put out there so people realize that you need to watch out with these headlines. You need to go back and watch the long format trial that's been going on. Disparity, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. We're talking white supremacy. You know, that evil thing that lurks in the shadows and is always coming for you and you can't escape it. Bunch of hogwash, if you ask me. Bunch of hagwash. The prosecution in this case tried to paint Gage as an upstanding, non-violent, EMT trained guy, and they did pretty good for the most part. There's a couple times I was, you know, a little worried, not a little worried, a little concerned with how they were actually, you know, going about questioning him. But when the defense, Kyle's attorney, were given the opportunity to cross-examine, they just went right for the neck. They went right for the neck, you know, illustrating how he was, even though he's, you know, they're trying to paint him as this helpful EMT, he continued to follow Kyle down the road. He approached him with his gun drawn. I mean, there's pictures of him with the gun out in front of him, pointing it at Kyle. Kyle turning at that point, raising his gun at him and vaporizing his bicep. Gone. You know, I don't hate to say it, but F around, find out, right? White supremacy is scary. I know. I'm told every day how scary white supremacy is in this country. I'll tell you, if you consume enough of the news, they'd probably convince you of such. But those of us who are smart enough to actually, you know, take a step back and really see that the stuff it's meant to control you. It's meant to control you and your thought, and it's meant to divide you, and it's making you be angry at people for reasons you have no idea why you're angry at people. Next up on our wonderful headlines for today, we have a thing in this country where we like to try and remove stigma for things. We try and normalize stuff, right? It's a big buzzword that's happening right now, normalizing behaviors, because we couldn't possibly have problems that we need to fix. We just have to normalize shit that we just don't want to fix. I think people are just too lazy, what it comes down to. And it's a shame. It's a shame because we get stuff like this headline from the Prostasia Foundation. New research reducing stigma around having a dominant sexual interest in children would increase uptake of preventative mental health services and save kids. But hearing this from scientists isn't as effective as convincing the public as hearing from MAPS directly. Again, this is what happens. So what we've done over the last couple of years is we've taken meaning of words and we've completely squeezed out the humanity, right? We heard things like racist, we've heard things like pick your phobe, transphobe, homophobe, whatever. And we've xenophobe, all these different things that people are afraid of or hate. And we've completely squeezed the humanity out of them to the point that they just mean nothing anymore. They mean nothing. And now the powers that be have it out for pedophilia. Now we have to normalize pedophilic behavior in order for people to get the treatment they need. And I don't know. I think this might be where I draw the normalization line. I don't know that I could possibly be on board with. I'm all for creating a path to intervention, to a path to getting better and getting rid of this behavior. I don't want children to be hurt. I do not believe we need to think of this as a normal condition for people to hide behind this now. I think we're on a really, really slippery slope here. The paper goes on to talk about this in the abstract here. The stigmatization of people with pedophilic sexual interest is a topic of growing academic and professional consideration. Okay, I'll bite. Owing to its potential role in moderating pedophiles' emotional well-being and motivation and engagement in sexual abuse prevention schemes. Don't give one rat's ass about a pedophile's emotional well-being. Sorry, they're monsters. They're monsters. Don't care about it. Motivation, engagement in sexual abuse and prevention schemes. I would like to know how to prevent these things. Absolutely. I don't want them to happen. I don't think anyone does. Thus, improving attitudes and reducing stigmatization towards this group is of paramount importance. It's not important to me or a lot of people, I believe, to remove stigmatization towards this. I think we can give people a path to fixing it, maybe, but this is a pretty egregious act, and not one I think we should be. Sometimes shaming is a okay thing, and I think in this situation we need to be shaming the absolute shit out of these losers. Prior research suggested that narrative humanization, presenting personal stories of self-identified non-offending pedophiles, could be one route to doing this. Let me see here. So, narrative humanization. Okay, we'll treat them like humans. Okay, maybe. Presenting personal stories of self-identified non-offending pedophiles. No, you know what? I certainly don't want to give someone the okay or make people think that it's okay to tell me about their tendencies to want to violate children. That sounds terrifying. And any normal person, I think, would agree. There's not a place in civilized society for people like this. Now, should this person, I guess, be able to go to a doctor and say these things? I guess. I think they should be under very, very close watch. Do I think they need to necessarily be thrown in jail right away? I don't know. I have 2 kids of my own, and if anyone ever came close to me and started saying something like this, it would not be good. But this is the point, right? I think this sort of behavior, this narrative humanization, might be able to take place behind closed doors with a professional. This is not something that needs to be made in like brought into the mainstream at all. There's zero reason that anyone needs to be humanized for this kind of behavior. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should feel uncomfortable, and you should not feel comfortable enough to bring this up with anyone at any time. Sorry. It's I don't think people realize like just how disgusting. Well, I would hope people realize how disgusting this is. And I think I speak for nearly anyone when I say I do want these people to get the help that they need and deserve. This is gross. We don't need this. We don't need this twisted into something that it's not. Pedophiles have no place in society. Sorry. It's a very sick and twisted world. So, okay, Aldous, how's it going? Disagree in the sense that I feel much more comfortable with these evil bastards being open, with being evil bastards. I can understand that, and I think I get that, and I'm with you there. I think the issue is like overarching the acting or the asking of the narrative humanization of these people is unacceptable in my spot. I think behind closed doors, this kind of behavior can be talked about and should be dealt with. But this is like, I think this whole thing is very, man, it's a weird spot, dude. It's weird. But I do not treat these people like humans. I think they're vile, awful creatures, and we just got to be careful. Might be a polarizing opinion, but again, I'm worried. I'm worried where this takes us in the long run. Though, and I'm not going to sit here and say that this one article could change. Like, I don't think anyone can look at this article paper and say, well, like, this is responsible for everyone's thinking. Everyone is responsible for how they are thinking and acting in the long run. But I'm worried stuff like this, and the more that people talk about it, the more the right people talk about these things, the more people start entertaining the idea that, oh, maybe he's right. Maybe he's right. Maybe pedophiles are people too. But it also, I cross-pollinate this with something like drug abuse. Spoke recently with a friend quickly about how I thought the decriminalization of drugs could remove the stigma from those drugs, and they would perhaps get the help that they need in order to overcome them. I think that's a little bit different when it comes to like our brains are like chemically altered at that point, and a lot of times we do acquire addictions. Now, is addictions to children, is it happening in a similar way? Maybe. There's lines that I like. There's lines that you just don't cross, right? I think recreationally doing drugs in your home, it's fine. Have fun. Doesn't involve anyone else, right? It's just you, the substance of your choice, at home, having fun. But once you introduce a third party, right, now you're taking advantage of people, hurting people both physically and mentally. So we got to draw the line. There's so we've been told by the powers that be. Today that roads are racist. You heard it. The Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, he said that that racism is involved with constructing with constructing roads, and if there's a bus line that runs between an African neighborhood and a Puerto Rican neighborhood and a white neighborhood, and the bridge is too low to get the bus through there, obviously racism is involved. This is a real quote from him. I've paraphrased, obviously, but that is a real thing that a transportation secretary said. Those are real quotes. Quickly backing up, Aldous says that's an interesting point. Is the depravity of addiction or substance abuse more likely to be alleviated by acceptance socially? So this is a thing that I've been thinking about and I've thought of many times, because I think if we can separate where things are, I think if we can look at the drug abuse and then the crimes committed afterwards as two separate things, I think you can remove the stigma of the drug. Now, I'm not sitting here condoning drug use. I'm not saying go out and do drugs and ruin your body that way. No. What I'm saying is allow people to do what they want to do in the privacy of their own home. Keep the state out of our homes, right? I think a lot of us here can agree with keeping the state out of our homes. But if in doing that, if in doing something in your private home has you do something else that violates the law or the rights of someone else, that's what you charge them with. So if someone does a crap ton of heroin, then goes out and robs a store to get money to get more fix, you charge them with robbery, right? So we remove the drug part of it because you did that elsewhere. The real crime is your theft. Perhaps then we might be able to look at something like, well, maybe if we remove the heroin part of it, get him the help he needs because he wasn't maybe acting in his own best interest or with all his faculties, then we can alleviate that problem. Maybe that gives him a better chance to not to commit a crime down the line. It's an interesting thing to think about. It's a very complicated thing, and I don't expect to solve it right now, but it's something I've thought about. Anyways, back to the roads of racism. You heard it right. And we'll play this little clip here real quick so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. You see Pete here. Talking about he's being asked a question right now. Reporter April D. Ryan to Secretary Pete, can you give us the construct of how you will deconstruct the racism that was built into roadways? Can you talk to us about how that could be deconstructed? Well, let's see what Mayor Pete's got to say.
The construct of how you will deconstruct the racism that was built into the roadways that you talked to the griot earlier when you broke that.
This is an actual question being asked by the media to a member of the Biden administration. Hello? Is this real life? Holy hell. This is actually a thing. Let's continue.
That information with us. Can you talk to us about how that could be deconstructed?
For sure, yeah. So
for sure, no problem. We're going to deconstruct the racism for you right now.
the principle of Justice 40 is that at least 40% of the clean investments in this bill will go to benefit the communities that are overburdened and underserved. So part one of that is defining those investments that are eligible, and that's a lot of it. And we're working to map out kind of program by program, mode by mode, what would qualify.
Defund the Department of Education, first of all. That's how you start, Pete. That's where we start. I know it sounds ridiculous, but these cities have been handed money over and over and over and over again. And all they do is get worse. And really, the cost per student was, I think roughly the cost per student is about $12,000 or $15,000, in taxpayer money. Let's save the taxpayer money and let people have that back. Just send them to private school. This is ridiculous. You look at places like Maryland, like Baltimore, It's awful. Like 1, 2, 3, 4 people out of a graduating class are literate, have acceptable math skills. And they're talking about racist roads. This isn't parody anymore. This isn't an Onion headline. This isn't a Babylon Bee headline anymore. This is real life. Aldous says, clearly roads are racist, but by everyone having complete equal access to them, they are clearly subjugating one segment of the society. Obviously, the only solution is to privatize them all. It's nuts, man. It's nuts. I don't know where we go. Let's continue this nonsense.
For example, if we're buying clean buses, right? How do we make sure, in terms of where those buses go, but also looking at the business opportunity, the jobs that are going to be created, the businesses that will have a chance to compete for the business opportunities it creates. That, too, I think is a very important element of equity here that's in the spirit of Justice 40.
If I hear equity one more time, I might throw up.
And again, we have a lot of guidance and oversight from the White House since that's an administration-wide initiative. But we know that we've got to build our own internal kind of
sanity, your own internal sanity. Maybe you should start with that. And then we'll start tackling things like roads.
Ways of aligning and defining that inside the administration. As to where we target those dollars, I'm still surprised that...
Still hasn't answered the question, by the way. Has not answered the question.
Some people were surprised when I pointed to the fact that if a highway was built for the purpose of dividing a white and a black neighborhood, or if an underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly black and Puerto Rican kids to a beach, or there would have been, in New York was designed too low for it to pass by, that obviously reflects racism.
Obviously. This obviously reflects racism. You can't make this shit up at this point. That does not obviously illustrate racism. And anyone who takes this guy seriously is a complete and utter moron.
That went into those design choices. I don't think we have anything.
So he's suggesting that actual racism went into designing and constructing roads. That, like, he said those words. Maybe he should have stayed on paternity leave.
To lose by confronting that simple reality. And I think we have everything to
That's simple.
gain by acknowledging it and then dealing with it, which is why the Reconnecting Communities, that $1 billion, is something we want to get to work right away, putting to work.
But that's such a heavy lift. I mean, you have to reconstruct communities that this happened to. As you said, some of these beltways and interstates and roadways were built before the Civil Rights Act, before the Voting Rights Act, and were meant to be racist. But how do you go about redefining and replanning these roadways and communities that are already settled in since then?
So what's interesting is it's going to vary by community, and we have to listen to the community. Sometimes it really is the case that an overpass went in a certain way that is so harmful that it's got to come down or maybe be put up.
Harmful. He's not talking about the structural integrity of that bridge being harmful to the people going underneath it. No, that's not what he's talking about. That's not what he's talking about. What he's talking about is that overpass is actually harming someone that go, or in this case, cannot go underneath it. This is almost as ridiculous as Biden saying that people of color don't know how to access the internet, or people on the streets of New York don't know think that people of color can't find the DMV to get their ID. You can't make it up. You can't make this up. And it's anyone who stands by what this guy says. Like, I just can't take you seriously. I don't know if there's an actual good argument to be made to say that he is right and he is speaking from a place of like reality.
Underground. Other times, maybe it's not that way. Maybe the really important thing is to connect across it, to add rather than subtract. And that's where we don't want to impose a one-size-fits-all answer from here. But when we were out in Syracuse, for example, looking at I-81, we saw the local vision for how they want to get past those divisions. And those local ideas are going to be taken very seriously as well.
There's not a one-size-fits-all solution to these. No shit, Pete. No shit. He can't even answer his own question. He gets up there and says something. He just lets words fall out of his fucking head. He makes sure to dump out a couple of buzzwords that people like, right? Racism, it's a trendy thing, right? It's a hot topic. It's great. Really gets those clicks. And obviously, I'm doing a video on it. This is literal insanity. You can't make up this garbage. And he's up there on national television saying this in front of reporters. Reporter asks him a question and he can't even answer it. Lord, I don't even want to watch the rest of it. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Let's go, Brandon. Fucking A, man. I don't have the thing that people don't understand is when someone like myself or any other commentator, social political commentator say, you know, the idea of racism is bunk or it's stupid, we don't mean it in the way that like it doesn't exist. It clearly exists episodically, right? We see pockets and instances of racism all the time, and people are that way. The idea of systemic racism, this is what we're arguing, right? This is when we hear people say the system is built for white people and white people only. That's why we need to create equitable systems in order to even out the playing field. It's hogwash. Hogwash. I think there's little to substantiate that claim. And you're doing more harm than good by telling someone that they need to remain an oppressive state because I, through no fault of my own, is somehow an oppressor to said group. You're telling someone they're inferior, and you're telling someone like myself that I am superior when I'm clearly not, and I never believed myself to be. There's plenty of people who are far and away more successful than I am, who have higher melanin levels than me. And why is that? It has nothing to do with skin color. No, it has everything to do with how good they are at their craft. They've spent time on the things that they've done. They've completed things that I haven't done. And I might not ever do. But it has nothing to do with some intangible system. You're lying to people. You're telling someone that they are less than when they've done nothing. I can't stand when I see these things pop up on my like Twitter feed or whatever. It talks about, you know, this boogeyman of white supremacy or whatever. I feel bad. I feel bad for the people who push this stuff on unsuspecting people who probably had no idea before. Like you are not oppressed. By and large, if you're in the United States, you are living one of the most privileged experiences and lives that you can around the world. You'd be hard pressed to find the rights you have here anywhere else. And they're slowly being stripped away in the name of national security, in the name of public health. And everyone's just willing to, bye-bye, see you. I don't need those. Don't go out with your family. Don't get together for Christmas because Dr. F said no. Dr. F said to wear your mask. Don't forget to wear your mask. And it might be okay if you wanna get together for Christmas. No way. It's troubling. And I hope people are starting to see, especially with something like that, where the Secretary of Transportation gets up on national television and tells people that the roads are racist. I need a moment of silence. That's all I can think. And, again, I will say this, and I will put a disclaimer out there. Your health is your business. It is not my business. It's not anyone else's business out there. What you do, what you put into your body is completely up to you. I'm not here to tell you anything otherwise. We are dealing with something that has a very, very high survival rate. And if you feel that you do not need to get the jab, that's on you. Personally speaking, I recommend anyone who is in a high risk category to get it. It does reduce symptoms, keeps people out of the hospital. There's not a whole hell of a lot of people going in the hospital to begin with it. People who do sometimes are not as well off. And that's scary. But I'm not here to tell you what to do with your particular body, right? Do you, boo boo. What I will say is that we've had a couple of we've had Sesame Street now pop up on our news feeds, and the different characters have insisted that because they have gotten the jab, that now you must too. You must as well. Big Bird, I got the COVID-19 vaccine today. My wing is feeling a little sore, but it'll give my body an extra protective boost that keeps me and others healthy. Miss Erica R. Hill even said I'd be getting vaccines since I was a little bird. I had no idea. This is alarming to say the least. This is alarming to say the least. Again, you can make up your own mind on what you want to do based on your own needs. Based on your own needs, the people in your community, the people you see on a regular basis, the immediate family that you will probably come across. The idea that people suddenly forgot how to take care of themselves and their general health since since COVID started, it's insane. We have always taken care of ourselves for the most part. If we're sick, we stay home from work, we stay home from school, we get better. These jabs don't stop you from getting COVID. They may slow transmission, they decrease viral load, but they do not keep you from getting sick. They don't keep you from dying. We don't need Big Bird to tell us, and all the other Sesame Street characters to tell us that they got their vaccine today. This is where they start attacking children, right? I don't know how many kids are on Twitter right now seeing Big Bird say what he's saying, but these are the things that get passed around. And when they do get back to kids, this is meant to be like, hey, look, Mom and Big Bird got his thing. And I've heard this nonsense too, right? That, well, Joe Rogan's been anti-vaccine for months now. So Big Bird's the least of your worries. No. Wrong. Joe Rogan hasn't been anti-vaccine. Joe Rogan's, I've heard him several times, especially in his one of his recent podcasts with Dr. Sanjay Gupta, insisted that people, if they need it, should get the vaccine. He's like, I'm not against vaccines. Go get it if you need it. If you're high risk, if you're in these categories, you should get the vaccine. Rogan's message to people is you don't just need to go get something because you're being coerced to get it. Try alternative methods like getting some sun. Go for a walk outside. Get some vitamin D. Take some vitamin D. He decided to use ivermectin to treat his COVID infection. Media decided to slander him the best they possibly could. And that's a shame. They lied about what he said. They lied about the thing he was taking. Wrong. Big Bird passing around his tweet about getting the vaccine is attempting to indoctrinate our youth. And I'm sick of seeing this sort of stuff happen. I don't like to be a doom and gloomer. I hate it. But I just can't keep standing by while stuff like this gets passed around. And they're doing it because young minds are impressionable. If you can get inside kids' heads now, then then they're going to think that this is right. They're going to think that this is what they need to do. Ivermectin has been used on humans many times. It's a Nobel Prize winning drug. The problem is it's not going to make anyone money in the long run, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing companies make clones of it so they can monetize it better. Pfizer's working around the clock, I'm sure, for some way to package sunlight into a pill. I mean, they do have vitamin D. It's not the same as sunlight, but you can take vitamin D in pill form. We all know that. But through this whole thing, and something I found alarming is that throughout this entire thing from 2020 to today, when was the last time you heard these big news stations talk about getting outside, working out, eating right, and seeing the sun? Has anyone ever said that as a way of preventative maintenance? I haven't. If someone has, please link me. I would love to report on it, because I've yet to see mainstream media or some major health organization say getting outside, exercising, eating right is the best way you can combat any sort of illness, especially CV-19. Right? No, it has not happened. It has not happened. And it won't happen, because guess what? It doesn't make them money. It doesn't make anyone money. It's almost as if they want you sick and they want you dependent on them. Right. Vitamin C, vitamin B, proper diet, exercise. Exactly. Do I do all that stuff? No. I'm in general good health. I've been eating better. I've eliminated sodas. I've eliminated most like candy and refined sugar that I can. You know, like these are things that you can do to just generally feel better anyway. I could do better at getting more sleep, but and this is the thing. These are things that solve the culture problem by and large. We you know, like lessons like taking your vitamins, exercising, good diet, 7-8 hours of sleep. All of this stuff solves a lot of the cultural problems that we're seeing today. But again, it's not extremely profitable by the powers that be, so they're not going to push something like that. Everyone's like, well, this is everyone's talking about FDA approved. Is this FDA approved? Who gives a shit? The FDA approves like toxic cereals for your kids and for you. Like they're not, the FDA is not some sort of hero business that only approves really healthy things. They've been poisoning you for years now, decades. Aldo says, why, given that it is a virus, would not the first thing you would do is put someone on an intravenous vitamin C drip, given that vitamin C strengthens cellular wall integrity and helps limit virus propagation? I don't know. I couldn't tell you exactly, but if that was true, then. But again, there's no, largely because there's no money to be made off of vitamin C. I think that's one of the big things that you're seeing, and I know other people have said this too, is that one of the big reasons you're seeing what you're seeing right now is because big pharma is making a shit ton of money by developing these vaccines, and we're buying them and shipping them all over the world. No one's paying anything for vitamin C. That's why you're not going to see it. Again, if the money's not there, no one's going to be pushing it. It's a sad reality, but I think it's the only one that we have to go on right now. It's too bad. There's there's a lot of things that I continue to worry about. General public health and also like mental health for people is something that I worry. I worry about. You're seeing an alarming amount of, I don't even know what it is, but I look at some of these headlines now and I think back to my own social justice days and I think, how could I ever possibly have believed the stuff that was coming out of people's mouths? And I think to some extent I didn't believe it. And it was one of the reasons I started waking up when I did, is because I never fully bought into what I was being told. I played devil's advocate a lot when I came to discussions with my friends, and it got them mad. It got them really, really mad. And another thing, you know, I want to play this video Nuance Bro shared it the other day of the Microsoft panel or something, and it was pretty alarming to watch. Pretty alarming to watch this thing. But let's go to the videotape.
Hello, everyone. I'm Natalie Gadilla. I'm a Caucasian woman with long blonde hair, and I go by she, her. I'm a product marketing lead here at Microsoft and co-host of the podcast Security Unlocked with this guy.
Yes, that would be me. Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Fillingham. I'm a Caucasian man with glasses and a beard. I go by he, him, and I'm a security evangelist here at Microsoft. We are so excited to be with you.
And if you thought that was bad, where do you see this? Where'd it go?
Hello and welcome to Microsoft Ignite. We've got a big day ahead and lots in store for you. First, we want to acknowledge that the land where the Microsoft campus is situated was traditionally occupied by the Sammamish, the Duwamish, the Snoqualmie, the Suquamish, the Muckleshoot,
Oh shit.
Tulalip, and other Coast Salish peoples since time. A people that are still here, continuing to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. My name is Allison Wines. I'm a senior program manager in our developer tools division. I'm an Asian and white female with dark brown hair wearing a red sleeveless top.
And
Oh, I can't even watch the rest of that. I can't even watch the rest of that. It's the most embarrassing shit I've ever seen. Oh my God. It's embarrassing. Like cringeworthy bad. Cringeworthy bad. Shit. I feel bad for people who work for these companies. I can't even tell if they're serious about like the actual message that they're saying. Now it's been reported since then that these people are doing this, well, at least for the stating what they look like and the pronouns and stuff for people who are visually impaired. I don't know how necessary that is though. And I might catch a rash of shit for saying that, but is there enough of an audience to have to actually do that thing? And is it important at all? Like, again, this goes back to the idea of identity politics, right? Why is it important, like, what you look like? Like, shouldn't the body of your work just speak for itself? Like, oh, your body, I'm sorry, your work is great. It is amazing. You have a great catalog of business and decisions and blah, blah, blah. Good. Don't give a shit what you're wearing. You can walk out there with a dildo strapped to your head and it'd be fine as long as you're good at what you do, right? No, we got to make everything, things, you know, your pronouns and your what you look like and your hair, make that central to your identity. That's what's important. That is who you are. That is who you are. And it's so, do they even know how cringe this is? I hate to say that, but to stick with the parlance of our time, you know, just important. What are we doing? What are we doing? Why? all the stuff I talked about tonight it does not deserve to leave the news cycle. People deserve to live with this and understand this for a long time to come. The manipulation of headlines, the, central importance of identity to the woke left, roads being racist, Big Bird simping for big pharma, like all this stuff is important. You need to know that this is around and people are actively talking about it. People who are important. This isn't just some fringe Twitter group that, wants to talk nonsense with each other. These are big corporate organizations, administrations that are pushing this stuff to you. And this is the issue I have is that this stuff is making its way into your life little by little. They're not hitting you over the head with it right away. They're feeding it to you piece by piece. So you'll be thinking about it and you'll talk about it with your circle of friends and you guys will both rationalize and be like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we should open up every conversation with our pronouns so we respect each other and we should acknowledge the stolen land that we're walking on. No, you shouldn't do any of those things. You should recognize how stupid and ridiculous it is, and then you should move on. You should laugh at the people who say it. You should make fun of them to their face because this is insane. This is literal insanity that we're seeing. You don't have to validate everyone's feelings that you come across. Not needed. Not needed. But there's plenty of people out there who think you do, who think it's progressive and it's good for society. No. The vast majority of people who I come across on a daily basis are good, hardworking people, and they're respectful. This is not normal behavior. What we've seen tonight on this, I don't want people to forget. I want people to look back on this and realize the literal insanity that's been going out in 2021 and 2020. And sure as shit going to be continuing in 2022. We're the ones that are eventually going to make the difference in the long run. We need to stand up and say, this is it. We're not dealing with this anymore. Unconstitutional mandates, whatever it is, we need to be able to stand up at some point and say, F no, not happening. Bottom line, here today, gone tomorrow is an important thing for me, for this channel, for the content I make, because I want it to be known that we're just not going to continue like this. There's a large group of people that I've seen that will not stand up for this like garbage. I see it constantly. I look at the ratios that happen on Twitter, on YouTube. I don't really see much on Facebook anymore. But the fact is that you're seeing people, they're done. They're done with this. They're done. They're done with the nonsense. I do have hope. I do have hope that things are going to change for the better. It's going to be a slow process, though. I recently watched and reviewed V for Vendetta with some friends. I was worried while I was watching it because that movie is so on the nose as it pertains to today's culture, politics, and social commentary. But we're in it. The change that happens there happens pretty rapidly over the course of it. Well, I guess it's not over the course of a year, but from the time the revolution starts to when it like essentially ends in the movie is about a year's time. Do I think it'll happen like that in real life here? No, I don't think so. I think that we will see a gradual shift, and I think over the next decade we will see a lot of people understanding where the world is and where it's going and how incredibly important it is to stay on top of this stuff, to talk to our kids, to understand what's being taught in our schools, to understand who's in power, to truly understand who it is that we're voting for. Who are these people? Where have they been? And what do they plan to do? It's important to know these things. It's important to be involved in your local politics. You want to make a difference in the world, start small. Jordan Peterson has said, clean your room first. Most of the people I know, they do just that. We can't give up. Again, do not give up. Keep having the difficult conversations. Stay informed. Understand what is going on in the world around you. It's terrifying. It sucks. I know. We'll get out of this. I promise. Again, I want to thank everyone for who showed up tonight, who dropped some chats in there, who kept me on my toes. I really appreciate all the support you give. Again, my general live streams happen on Twitch Friday through Monday from 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to about 12 or 1 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. We stream late. Occasionally, I like to do 1 or 2 of these live streams a month, along with 1 or 2 videos recorded a month. So make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and be a part of movement. All of us on YouTube that are speaking out against this nonsense, we are trying to do what we can in order to change the world, even if it's incrementally, even if it's a few of you at a time. Thank you again for joining me for Here Today, Gone Tomorrow, episode number 4. It's been a lot of fun talking to you guys this evening. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, and be good to one another, love one another, give each other a hug, and get some vitamin D. Later.
And I'm Seth Juarez, Program Manager of the AI Platform.